Super. So this is me, and I will not dive deeper into the presentation myself as Monica did, but as it says on slide, I really believe in data-driven decisions, and I hope that we will help to believe in it as well after this session. And these are the quite objectives of this webinar. I will be really quick on that. So we want to discuss why data is essential and what are the actual data that can be found in Eastern Europe, as well as countries that participate in this project. And Simon provided me with this kind of information, thank you. So, and also about the current trends and innovative techniques, case studies, insights, tools and resources that you might use. And also you will have an opportunity to ask questions. And I will announce it now that for those one who will be active and who will fill in the evaluation form, we will also be glad to send the form, the list of resources that might be useful for you when you're working on your data and finding new opportunities. And let's go to the fun part. Oh, it's the fun part for me, basically. So a quick introduction is that data is essential in understanding given trends, and it provides insights about donor behavior, but also it helps to understand what are the motives to give. By analyzing data, nonprofits that are you, I hope, you can build strategies and fundraising strategies as well. And at this point, I am happy to share the stage with Miloš Janković from Catalyst Balkans, and he will cover this topic from the first side, and then I will jump into the trends section, and also there is the third part. We will go to that later. Miloš, your word.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm super grateful to Liubov, Simon, and Monica for this opportunity. This is actually my second webinar with Eastern Partnership. 2 or 3 years ago, I spoke about crowdfunding for nonprofits. But now let's talk about data-driven fundraising and what are other opportunities besides crowdfunding that you can utilize for your own cause. Just a couple of things about me and why I'm here today. I work as Partnerships and Engagement Director at Catalyst Balkans. I've been here for the past 6 years, and I actually built our fundraising services and tools, including our own crowdfunding platform, Donacija.rs, that served more than 180 nonprofits to raise more than $1 million for different initiatives and local communities throughout Serbia. But besides that, I worked with dozens and dozens of nonprofits and independent media outlets, not just in the Western Balkans, but in Central and Eastern Europe a bit as well, on their fundraising models that are in the first place data-driven, digital, and scalable. Catalyst Balkans is actually all about that. Catalyst Balkans is a regional foundation based here in Belgrade that provides fundraising data, resources, and know-how. We changed a bit our structure last year and introduced these 5 hubs as our programmatic pillars, basically. It all starts with our learning hub, where we provide through our e-learning platform knowledge about new concepts in fundraising to the nonprofit organizations. So once they understand those basic concepts and gain that knowledge, through our data hub, we provide them with data research and analysis, so they would be able to map their own philanthropy niche and to understand what are the best strategies and directions for their fundraising. Once they understand their strategy and their philanthropy niche, with our CRM software, we help them to build a community of supporters around their cause. Third step, and our actually fourth step, and our fourth pillar is our fundraising hub, where once they understand the concepts, map their philanthropy niche, build a community, then they invite that community to support them through donations or any other mechanism. And finally, in order for those organizations to retain trust, not just to their supporters, but from the public as well, we have different programs and support for nonprofits to demonstrate their transparency, especially when we talk about programmatic and financial transparency. So basically, we have this, in marketing, they would say holistic approach, although I hate those buzzwords like that, but it is one kind of 360 approach to fundraising and what it actually means to be a modern nonprofit in 21st century. But before I continue, I have one question for you guys, and I would like to ask you either to scan these QR codes if you can see it properly, or you can go to this URL at the top of the screen, ahaslides.com/zag23. I also pasted the link in the chat, so you can go there as well. We have 11 participants so far. Let's wait for a couple of more moments to get at least to 20. So you can either, as I said, scan the QR code or just visit the link at the top of the screen. And once you go there, you can stay there because there will be questions throughout the session for you guys. Awesome, we have 20 people there already, more than 20 now. Cool, I think that we can continue, but you can of course join us with this link. You can open it of course with your phone or in your browser, either way, whatever works for you. So my question for you guys is actually, do you gather data and use any software for data collection and analysis in your work? And you have three options that you don't use any of that. Yes, but just the basic things like Excel, Google Forms, things like that. Or maybe you use a CRM software or maybe some even more advanced solution. So what is it? What's your experiences? And do you gather data? Do you analyze data? What's your approach at this moment? Okay, let's give it a couple of more seconds. Currently, 25% of people do not use and don't track nor collect data in any way. 69%, almost 69% use just those basic tools like Excel spreadsheets and Google Forms, while less than 6% use some kind of CRM software. I would be very interested in learning more about what software do you actually use for people in these two groups that use Excel or some kind of CRM. I would really like to learn more about it. So please, you can share in chat box what actual software are you using. For those who haven't used any of these tools so far, CRM.
I think Miloš, something with the mic because we didn't hear you. Or me.
Sorry.
No, it was okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thanks. If something's wrong, just please let me know. For those of you who are not familiar maybe with the CRM software, it's a software that businesses use for their own purpose and their business development. For example, when you have a problem with the your mobile operator, and you call them and some random guy from their call center answers and gets in a conversation with you, they know everything about all of your interactions with them. When you paid your bills, what did you say to to his colleague about your experience? So basically every interaction you have with them, they know about it, and that is because they use CRM software. In the business world, it's an abbreviation for customer relationship management. In the nonprofit sector, it's still the CRM, but we call it community relationship management. It's a software that serves you to track all of your interactions with your constituents, with people that you serve and that support you. But when you talk about philanthropy and the story of philanthropy being the whole Eastern Europe and Western Balkans, especially when we compare it with philanthropy in Western Europe and the United States, you will see big differences how fundraising works, what are the focuses of different nonprofits, and what are the different fundraising models that work in one or another context. But it really is a growing, it's a topic of growing importance and relevance in our regions, because it is something that contributes to the resilience of civil society. And while, yes, foreign donors are super important and they have their very important role, the best way to make a change is to do it within, especially if you can rely on your own resources and resources within your society. And we will explore how data is reshaping our understanding of philanthropy, fundraising, and giving trends in these regions, and how we as the nonprofit sector can use this data and use this knowledge to make a change in our communities. What we firmly in Catalyst believe that we should establish as a concept is something that we call smart philanthropy. It is a philanthropy, or I will use philanthropy and fundraising. Basically, these are the two sides of one same thing. But this smart philanthropy or smart fundraising, whatever we're going to call it, is data-driven, scalable, lean, and digital. What does that actually mean? Data-driven, and all of these four categories, I believe, have to be applied all at the same time. Because data-driven, pretty self-explanatory. We need data to make smarter decisions and more precise decisions so that we could be more efficient in our work. Scalable means that it can scale to higher groups, bigger groups of people, and higher monetary goals. Lean means that based on that data, you will be able to quickly adapt and shift your strategies, that you will always test a certain idea. And once you have evidence in data, you will be able to change your approaches and to adapt them to a new context and to what data is actually telling you to do. And finally, it has to be digital, especially today. When we talk about digital transformation, the whole world went through it basically, but nonprofit sector generally is way behind the curve when we talk about digital transformation. Today, we have artificial intelligence going mainstream. Web3 is a mainstream topic, and we are kind of, not just in our region, but throughout Europe, civil society really needs to catch up when we talk about digital transformation and to jump in one of the last wagons in this train. I just wanted briefly to explain maybe a couple of different concepts and differences between digitalization, and digital transformation. They all sound very similar, but I just want to emphasize these differences, because when you talk about digital transformation, it's not just about which tools you should use. And as Liubov said, yes, you will get links and access to some resources that can help you in your own work, but we need to understand that all of these changes that we're going through, it's really a paradigm shift, and what will happen, what we need to do within our own organizations, if we want our organizations to survive, is actually to make a cultural change. Yes, we'll talk about data, we will talk about some very technical things, but all of these things actually, they fundamentally are changing the way how we operate and how we deliver value to our communities and our beneficiaries. It's really changing our organizational culture, and we need to be aware of that, because if you want to start using any of these tools, or if you want to start developing data-driven fundraising strategies, you need to be aware that it is an ongoing process where you will have to work with your team a lot of time to adapt new tools, to adapt the new way of thinking. That's a strategic thing. It's not just about technical things. Which buttons should you press to get to a certain result? That's the most important thing I wanted to share with you, to understand that, yes, there's a lot of technical things here, but we're talking basically about a cultural change. And I wanted to share with you two short stories about two very small organizations from Serbia that we worked with and helped them transform and achieve amazing things by going digital and data-driven. A couple of years ago, when we launched our data hub and our platform called Giving Balkans, that has all the data we collected throughout the years about philanthropy in Serbia and the whole Western Balkans. Basically, you can access this platform and learn which companies are donating, or for which causes are companies the biggest donors, but for other causes, maybe a crowdfunding is a solution. In which cities, who are the most important donors, who are the most important fundraisers, so you can really understand the whole philanthropy ecosystem. And there was this one lady that had her own association, but literally it was just her doing her own work. They are called Center for Social Development, Centar za unapređenje društva in Serbian. But basically, they are running a program similar to those programs in the United States, Big Brother, Big Sister. I believe that you're familiar with those programs, where you have a person who will go to an orphanage to be friends with one of the children without parental care. She was a child without parental care, so this is really her passion, but she did not have any resources for operating this program. She did not have team. It's really just herself with her idea and her passion and our data. So we gave her an access to our data, and we helped her target potential donors based on different criteria. We filtered all of the donors to understand if it's better for her to build a partnership with a company or to run a crowdfunding campaign, who are the biggest and most important donors in her cause. So we created a list of maybe top 10 donors that could be potential targets for her. And after a couple of weeks, we followed up to ask her if anything happened. She said, yeah, I will sign now a strategic partnership with this company. I'm not sure how they're called. It's Ernest something. We were like, you mean Ernst and Young? Yeah, that's it, that's them. So she was completely clueless about what is Ernst & Young, one of the biggest and most important auditing companies in the world. They have their offices in Belgrade. They're super important, but that was not important to her. But by using the data with very simple targeting, she built this strategic partnership, and that really helped her to deliver this project and to implement it with amazing and wonderful results. But then again, there is another association called Always with Children, UXDECO. These two ladies are running that organization. They, I have to say, are not very digital savvy. They don't care about it. They never had to deal with it. But we helped them run a crowdfunding campaign on our platform at one moment. It was successful. They are basically helping families with children battling cancer. So it's a very important cause, very relatable for people. They will usually react. But step by step, we tried helping them. Okay, you had this crowdfunding campaign. You have now a list of supporters. maybe we can help you to start using CRM software so that you can track your relationship with them, your interactions. And after that, 2 years after that, we wrote a great case study about them because they are our biggest user of CRM right now. These two ladies here, they are running awesome campaigns. They have a huge list of supporters, thousands and thousands of them right now. And it's really another story where you didn't maybe expect that kind of result, because why would they deal with the CRM software? They don't understand it. They don't use computers maybe so often. But then again, step by step, we got there. And as I said, they are one of our most favorite case studies so far. Basically, with these two examples, I wanted only to show you, to bring your attention to the fact that you need to understand data at two different levels. One is ecosystem data, the research by Zagoriy Foundation, Catalyst Balkans, or any other relevant research that you can find and data that you can find about what's happening with fundraising and philanthropy in your own countries. But then again, you also have to take care and do it in a smart way. How are you handling your own data? How do you gather data, and what are you doing with that data later? So basically, why is this so important for all of us? It's to help us to uncover different patterns, identify key donors or factors, and segment donors in order to improve engagement, to understand what is the time of year that's best for your fundraising campaign, to understand who are your repeated donors so that maybe tomorrow you can include them in a monthly giving program or a similar fundraising activity. So you have to analyze ecosystem data from the sources like our platform Giving Balkans, or the research from Zagoriy Foundation, our own research. I know that McKinsey also has a research on giving throughout Europe. So there's a lot of research that you can utilize in your own countries for developing your fundraising strategies. And there is, as I said, it's important to understand these differences, because each country is so unique. There are huge differences between fundraising in Ukraine, in Serbia, in Germany, in UK, United States. You can see on this slide, this is a quote from one research where they compared charitable giving trends in 6 European countries. And it's really completely different. Charitable organizations in Germany raised twice as large a share of their voluntary income through corporate gifts than those in France, and 10 times as much as those in the UK. Basically, there are a couple of factors that influence these changes, but really philanthropic ecosystems, fundraising ecosystems in each of our countries are so unique. I have another question for you guys. So I will please ask you to return to AHA Slides again. So the link is ahaslides.com/Zag23, and tell me what do you think. We know that during the COVID-19 outbreak, giving across Europe increased, but what do you think happened with the giving in Western Balkans? Okay, 100% of you think that it increased, 33% think that it stayed approximately the same. Some people think that it actually decreased. Let's wait for a couple of more moments for people to answer. This is, okay, there is a huge division here, awesome. We have 22 people on the platform at the moment. 13 of them cast their votes so far. Maybe let's wait for another moment or two. Yeah, COVID, of course, had a great impact on philanthropy. But in the United States, Europe, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Balkans, it really had different implications. It increased multiple times in Western Balkans. For example, in Serbia, our data for 2020 showed that we had almost 3 times more donations and more giving than in 2019. For example, corporate sector was the biggest donor at that moment, while in the United States, corporate donations fell down actually during the COVID. So you see, every country, every philanthropy ecosystem is very unique, and that's the reason why you need to understand your own data so you would be able to make better decisions. For example, of course, as I think that I already mentioned, in both of our regions, philanthropy is on the rise. Civil society understands the importance of it for its sustainability. In Serbia, we had this huge rise in 2020, but always after these kinds of disasters, there is also a huge fall. However, in Serbia, that fall wasn't so huge. It is still falling from 51 million euros donated in 2020. In 2021, we fell to 42.5 million. And now in 2022, by the way, we still didn't publish, we will publish in a couple of weeks our research on giving trends in 2022. You are the first people to learn that the recorded amount of giving in Serbia in 2022 is 31.2 million euros, but the corporate philanthropy really completely disappeared. Because of the whole financial situation, they don't give as much. People, citizens are those who actually donated most of these funds, and mostly for medical treatments of children and other people with health issues. But again, even with the fact that the philanthropy and those giving trends are negative lately, they're still at higher level than before COVID. So I'm kind of still optimistic about it, because it means that 2020, when everyone started giving, at least in the Western Balkans, it became a practice. And of course, it will fall down because of the whole economic situation in our region at the moment. But this is still a good sign, because it's still significantly more than before COVID. And as I said, we built and launched our application, givingbalkans.org/app, where all of the data that we gathered is available in interactive data visualizations that you can play around with. But the point is, philanthropy is really important for fundraising for the civil society in our regions, while of course foreign donors will remain super important. I still think that the future for our civil society sectors in both regions is doing community fundraising and working with people and companies from our own local communities. As I said, all of these differences, there are a couple of factors that impact them between philanthropy ecosystems in our countries. Cultural values, tax incentives. Serbia is the only country in Europe that doesn't have any tax incentives for individuals who donate, but also trust in nonprofits in our country is unfortunately absolutely horrible. It's really, really low, but other countries that have higher levels of trust in nonprofits can raise more funds through these mechanisms. Basically, when you start developing your own fundraising strategies, one of the first things you should do is actually to understand, to map the data you want to collect, so that you would be able to segment your donors later by their demographics, interests, and giving preferences, so that you can better target and communicate more efficiently with them. Liubov will talk a bit more about actually storytelling, and that will be a crucial topic for the next webinar, the next week that you will have with Liubov's colleague. But let me ask you actually, because we talk about the data and how important it is to segment the data, have you used perhaps ChatGPT or any other language model or AI tool in your work so far? You have three options. Yes, you use AI tools regularly. You tried it, but you're still not quite sure how to utilize it the best. And no, you are clueless about ChatGPT or anything. So where do you stand? Have you tried ChatGPT or any other AI tool, and what were your experiences? If you really have some experiences, it would be super valuable if you could share them through chat, maybe to turn on your mic later and in a Q&A session to share your experiences. That would be great as well. Okay, I'm super happy to see that everyone is aware that ChatGPT is here and that AI slowly becomes a mainstream thing in our lives. A lot of people are still not quite sure how to utilize it, which is perfectly fine, and nobody still knows what are the possibilities, but we can play around with it. We can, Catalyst is currently in some kind of exploratory phase where we are playing around with it, trying to figure out what are the best ways to utilize it. But it is really transforming the way nonprofits approach fundraising, because it can automate tasks, analyze data for us, and personalize communications. Because if we map the data that we need to collect properly, we have all of that data, we segment our donors, potential donors properly. AI can really help us to personalize communications, to develop really personalized custom messages for each of the donor segments, or even for each of the donors based on the data that we have. AI will work better if you have better data to share with it to use when applying it. There are three major applications of artificial intelligence in fundraising that we can talk about. It's predictive analytics. AI can analyze data sets to identify different patterns and predict donor behavior. Personalization, as we just said, so AI-driven tools can create personalized communication and tailored fundraising appeals. And finally, we can develop chatbots that can assist us with donor inquiries. Catalyst currently is exploring how to utilize artificial intelligence in a couple of ways. One is we have a team of 10 people that's currently going through articles, reading about philanthropy and donations, and entering that data in our database. We are currently figuring out the plan how to shift them from entering that data actually to have AI doing that job, while our employees would be the ones who would be in charge of checking the quality of the data, engaging with additional donors so that we can make sure to have even better and richer data sets. We are also trying to figure out how can we develop our own chatbot for our fundraising platform to help nonprofits, because we have one person now that supports those nonprofits in their fundraising campaigns, helps them develop those fundraising campaigns according to our methodology. But we want to have one chatbot actually that can lead those people through the same process. So there's really a lot of ways we can use AI, especially with the data that we have. But one of those ways is actually to create a presentation. And my last question for you is, what do you think? What percentage of this presentation was AI generated? And yes, you can see that some percentage of it definitely was AI generated, but what do you think? Was it 20%, 50%, maybe 100%? Okay, someone thinks that I didn't do anything for this presentation and that it's 100% AI generated. Okay, thank you. I have to say that I actually did invest some effort, and actually out of 27 slides, 13 and a half basically are AI generated, while the other half is really completely my contribution. But I don't know if you could see from the beginning which parts were AI generated and which were originally created by me, because Liubov said that I jumped in the last minute, basically. But yes, we also submitted one proposal that was AI generated. That proposal didn't went through. Just to warn you, you have to still be careful with AI, and you can't have too big expectations out of it, but it can certainly be a super useful tool for everyone to be more efficient. And basically, as our regions continue to grow and evolve, potential of philanthropy also in our regions will grow. And if we start using the data, if we strategically shift our organizations and transform them digitally to become really data-driven, scalable, and lean, there's really tons of opportunities to increase our impact and our efficiency. Ukraine is going through a thing that all of us hope that will not happen ever in this continent again. And coming from Serbia, unfortunately, I do understand how Ukrainian people feel right now and what are they going through. But still, these tools can help us a bit with the current situation, but they cannot solve all of these problems. So yes, with all of our passion that we have in the civil society to do our work, to fight for our causes, these tools can only help us be more efficient. They can't do everything instead of us, but they can really be super useful. And because I know that, as usual, I went a bit over the time that I had for me, I will stop now, and you please take it over.
Thank you, Miloš. Thank you. I had enough time just to cough, so maybe it will stop for a second. And guys, so since I have like nearly 40 minutes left, and I will jump like a fellow deer to be really quickly about everything I want to say. So please, if you have any questions, stop me or put your questions in the chat so we can discuss them later. And
Liubov, just a second, just to say that we have 2 questions in the Q&A.
Okay.
So I presume those are for Miloš, so maybe we address those 2 and then we can jump straight to your part, if that's all right. Yeah,
so, it's all right, because I was throughout from this session, so I don't see the questions in the chat. Okay.
Yeah, so I will read out those 2 questions and then Miloš, you can respond. So there is a question from Sanan. I'm writing a project proposal for a grant. The deadline is 24th of April and I have difficulties getting data. Could you let me know how I can get this data?
I don't know what data you actually need. But one of the things that I can suggest is trying out Bing Chat. Bing Chat is Bing as Microsoft's version of Google, with artificial intelligence as a part of it. You can ask it a couple of questions and it will serve you the best resources for that data that you need. But maybe you can send an email to Liubov and me to explain what kind of data, what is the topic that actually you want to research, and maybe we can find something to help you.
Thank you, Miloš, for the answer and for the offer. So Sanan, please follow up if you want. There is another question from Andriy. He's saying, I work in a fundraising team at a private university in Ukraine. I have a question regarding data collection. What kind of data do we have to collect and analyze to be more successful in fundraising? And do you have some templates reports from databases that should be the most important in our analysis?
I believe that you will be much better suited to answer to this question, especially when we talk about the ecosystem data. But when we talk about what data should your own university gather, the first thing is actually your alumni network. That's the first thing that you should start with. I hope that you have some kind of list of those contacts. There's different software out there that can help you with that, but that's also for a bit longer consultation. Again, you can just send us an email and we'll try to give you a couple of suggestions and ideas for that.
Yeah, and I know Andriy, so Andriy, hi. And I can suggest you that I will cover a little bit on what data might be useful to gather and then to use, but maybe it will be more clear during the Q&A session when the main content will be ended. Yeah, so is it okay for me to start, or do we have another question?
No, I think that's all. So yeah, please, Liubov, go ahead.
Okay, super, thank you. You see my screen, right? So I'm just every time worried about this. Yeah, super, thank you. So these are giving patterns. Just to sum up with what Miloš told, especially about Western Balkans, I tried to get more info on how giving was presented in different kind of reports. So for example, you could see that a lot of decisions, if we dive deeper into the data, we can find insights, what can help. And for example, we can see that because of COVID, the level of individual donors increased, but the level of corporate donations decreased. What does it mean? So we have this information, and if, of course, it's only the head of an iceberg, but if we dive deeper, we could find the information that would help us to build our strategy for a long time. For example, we see that the number of these individual donors is growing, so we can think about the possible approaches to attract them to our activities, to what we do and how they can engage with us. Fundraising trends, what do we know about them and how we can use it during our work? Firstly, what trends you have noticed recently? And I kindly ask you to, since I have this technical moment that I checked just before the webinar, but if you are kind enough to me, you can write down in the chat what fundraising trends do you use, and not fundraising trends, but what fundraising tools do you know and how they influence your work. Fundraising platform for different models, crowdfunding, monthly giving, charity auctions, peer-to-peer. Exactly. What else? What else do we know? What else do we use? Donation button. Thank you. And all of those are really important in our everyday life. And as more, the more we use, the more we know that we can test our assumptions. And Patreon, someone is writing, right? The Patreon has its own limitations, especially if your activities don't fit all of the rules, but that's another thing just to follow. But what we can see and what is happening for sure is the increased use of technology, and it includes everything. Online giving became really popular during the last decade, maybe or so, and COVID even made it more like a big theme, and a greater focus on impact. People started to believe that what they wanted to participate in means should mean something for them. They are not. This leads to more transparency and efficiency, and people want to provide that nonprofits provide more information on how they spend money, for what, and why do they collect something right now. This is something that is really connected to transparency, but also about being the part of the solution of something bigger. That's why in some countries education is really a big thing, and in the others people are trying to help those ones who need it the most. The second thing is way where you can count not only on donations, but rather all of the income that you can produce by yourself, and also focusing on impact because you can provide more. I have a great example on it, but we can cover that during the Q&A session if you remind me. And also the change in demographics of donors. It means that younger generation is now ready to donate, is now ready to interact with you, with people, with everyone. But they differ from what we know were millennials or the generation before. They are more likely to support causes related to social justice, about human rights, about being really active in the social life rather than just donating to something that means to them. And it's about engaging in different kind of participating in giving. It's volunteering, it's activism, and it's something that was a big deal. And if we can catch the wave, we can be on top of it. And the last but not least, for sure, it's collaboration. Collaboration basically is a huge trend, not only in the non-profit world, but the whole world itself. Collaboration means that you can cover the audience of your partner or with those ones who you collaborate with. And it also helps to engage more people into different activities. It's about partnership that means more. And of course, you do not need to cooperate with every single organization that you know, but it will help you a lot if you know how you can enhance each other activities. And that's another way to do it. And I'm quite sure that Anna will cover it during the next week's webinar about communications. Trends reflect a growing recognition of the importance of charitable giving. And it also addresses the situation. It reflects the situation that we might see. It doesn't mean that we can create something or we can start a trend. Trend is a tendency that helps us to understand better what is going on in the world, especially in the world of giving. A non-profit must be agile and adaptable. If you, of course, want to be more on track. Firstly, these are another trends that those trends that I covered before were the trends about the past decade that have changed. This one are quite new, and what can we see? And we can see that 3 out of 5 trends are repeated, and it also means the trends are long-term, so they will not disappear in a month or 2. And it's not like the fashion trend that here you can see them and now they are gone forever. No, this is something that shows the trend that are not only suitable for non-profit sectors or fundraising campaigns, but also for the whole world that we are living in. And what are the innovative fundraising techniques that we might use and that could be helpful for us. Let's start with the peer-to-peer fundraising. It's not something really new, but I would say that it's kind of a best practices that might be used for you if it suits your model. It helps creating your own fundraising pages or engaging your audience to fundraise for you. This is something that some of our partners did, and it was a great success. Maybe those people will not cover all of your needs, or they will not raise millions, but if they do it on a regular basis, it will help to give you stability and also the circle of people who believe in your mission, and they are going to spread the word about you. This can be quite good way to engage new people, to provide them opportunities to help you. Another thing is virtual events. I will be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of those, but there are a lot of opportunities to organize those events, not only in the way of like conference or webinar like ours, but also online auctions, concerts, galas, and this can be also like a cost-effective way to attract new donors. But you need to realize that there is a lot of work that is standing behind the scenes in this kind of opportunities, and there is a lot of media and communication work that you need to provide. Another thing, and I like this one, it's about crowdfunding. It involves raising funds from a large number of people that want to support you on online platforms or your own websites if you have this instrument to follow. This can be also an interesting way how to get to the new audience, because it's just you standing there raising money from those people who you have in your social media, and crowdfunding helps you to get a little bit more engagement if you do everything right. And the last one that I will talk about is recurring giving. And this is something that is also a big trend around the business world. It's about subscriptions. It means that you need to build a community around your organization that will be like your big fans, and they are big fans enough to support you on a regular basis. That was something about in the chat that mentioned Patreon. This is one of the mechanisms, but also a lot of organizations can organize it using their websites or another online fundraising platform that might be useful. How this works on practice, and maybe this is the most important question, right? So I will tell you our experience in organizing Giving Tuesday campaign, last year campaign 2020. So we did an online campaign to raise more than 1 million hryvnias for newborn children. And what we did it in a collaboration, which is one trend, and we organized an virtual event, which is the second trend. It was a landing page. We cooperated with influencers, giving them particular messages that we wanted them to share. And also we were doing social media campaign. We gathered a lot of stories about pregnant women who live in different regions, from the western part to the east, from north to south, so they could share what obstacles they have, what difficult situation they need to manage because of the war happening around them. And we share those stories and use it like to do mechanism, something to push people to give, because they could see the real people sharing this. And also we wanted to organize something really unique. So we didn't only ask for donations, but we provided and like a win-win situation, because we created a book about Ukrainian regions, about its specifics, what kind of work, what kind of food you can find there, or what are the famous people from there, and what can you look around when you're in this region. And this insight was born during the conversation that a lot of people were trying to find something about the Ukrainian roots more deeply, because it was the idea when everyone was trying to unite and to get more experience in being Ukrainian. And what we resulted in, so we succeeded, we got those sum that we wanted to raise, and it also a big work with corporate donors. And the idea was quite complex, I would say. And what have we learned? So the first thing, do not complicate. Easy way to donate, more donations. I told you about the stories of those women, but also we got those stories on the landing page. So there was a landing page and there was stories. And then if you click on the stories, you could scroll down to the donation button. And a lot of my friends or friends of my colleagues, if there is possible just to donate, we do not want to read the stories. We just want to help you with the campaign. So we then started to simplify situations, and idea should be easy to explain. 3 sentences maximum. It means that if you're asking about what resources do you need to, for example, write down your project idea for the grant proposal, then you need to do it really, really short. It should be like, I don't know, I'm going there, we receive there, bam, big success. The second thing we have learned is different approaches to different audience. Influencers, social media, and media need different stories to share. You need to adjust everything just to make sure that you will not duplicate and people will not be bothered to read the same thing twice or 3 times or whatever. And some activities are much more efficient. We need to check what works the best for us, and data helps a lot, because, for example, we did that campaign and now we can analyze what worked, what didn't, what can we do better in the future, or what is the portrait of audience that supported us, and what can we change just to make sure that we will get the more result with less effort. And another thing, that if there is a way to prolongate the campaign, please do it. We developed this handout about Ukrainian regions, and after the campaign was ended, we continued to sell them for donation, so people could send the donation and they could receive this handout like a present from our side. And even if they didn't want it, but they could still have this small opportunity to be engaged in what we believe in. And also one of the teammates from our colleague started her own running campaign just to support the children right now. And now she's running half marathons every day. And yeah. What makes campaign a successful campaign? So the first thing is that you have clear goals and objectives. It doesn't matter how good your campaign is going to be if you do not know you succeeded or not. So the first thing, you could divide your results into several columns, like the money result, the people engaged, influencer or media that supported you, and so on. And this will be something that you would try to achieve no matter what. The practice showed that nearly half of the people that set their goals overachieved them, rather comparing to those who didn't want to, like we will do something and then something will happen. Well, it's not how that works. The second is strong marketing and promotion. Fundraising, it's always about communication. It's always about marketing. It's always about engaging people. So you just do not sell eggs, you sell stories, you sell help, you sell people that will be you sell the solution to the problem. That is it. The third thing is engaging and entertaining. People are, if you have ever seen the videos where children are crying and then you're asking for a donation, it will create a negative reflect in your mind, and you will, maybe you don't think so, but you will try to avoid those factors in the future. So I would suggest you to use a positive approach if it's an option. One of the last things is efficient logistics and reporting. And reporting is really important. It's if we came back to the previous slides where I was talking about the impact, it's really connected to that. So firstly, you need to share in the social media that how the campaign went and what did you manage to attract, how much money, how many people, but also it's about sharing reports with those donors who you have direct communication channels. It means a lot, and as far as I remember from the Giving Tuesday reports team, they told that people who receive those reports are much more likely to be engaged in the future. And I know that a lot of organizations do it, so please do not leave it somewhere. What are the next steps with your donor after this? So firstly, communication and transparency. Regularly communicate with your donors, be honest. Don't hesitate to tell not only about your success, but also what went wrong. It doesn't mean that you need to be like, oh, we didn't achieve it, so please help us. No, it's rather about explaining and telling what the next steps are, and that your goal means much more than the losses or the situation that were not as important as it were. And what else? Personalization, that I covered a little bit. You need to find strategies to communicate with your donors so they will know you. You need to give stories. You need to show your preferences. The second part is building relationship. Invest your time, resources in building relationship with donor, in building your community, listening to their feedback or maybe their ideas. It will help you to have this healthy relationship as it might be between organization and donors. Remember that people are more likely to give to other people rather than organization. And appreciation and knowledge, and thank donors for their contribution. Be honest, say about how meaningful their donations were, and continue to do it not only when they donate, but also when they are doing something with volunteering, activism, sharing information, provide them invitations to some of your events. It's something that it will help to also the previous point about the healthy relationship. And it's continuous engagement. So working with donors is a never-ending circle that has no the beginning, has no the end. And be sure to maintain the whole information that you might have about those donors in the perfect way. This is a CRM system. If you don't have access to that, please try to use everything you can just to keep all the information on board, because people leave organizations, and whenever your fundraiser or whoever works with the partnerships or donors leave, you need to be able to start from the point where they are. It's really important. How to do it? Step by step. no one was born a star of fundraising. Maybe just, I don't know, Lady Gaga or the actual star that was born, but still it's something that was done by millions of years. So don't worry, we just need to be to make sure that fundraising is our everyday routine and setting up clear goals. Now we are going to the last part, and I will try to be more quickly than I was. So the more data you have, the more accurate assumptions you can have. And set clear goals that was mentioned, use segmentation, it means divide your groups into given history, demographics, how they behave, what they do, as much as you can. You can use not only your data, but also the data of other organizations that are working in this field. For example, we at the Zagoriy Foundation provide opportunities to, we measure giving annually or every 2 years. So it helps to, if your organization working with health, you can find the way to see, so these are people who give to health related issues. How do they look like? How they behave? What income do they have? Are they educated or not? In which region they are mostly presented? And it will help you to build your strategies or to create your assumptions. Personalized communication. This is this was said before, but it's not. It doesn't make it more important. Analyze given patterns. This is with the data of those donors who you worked previously, and it will help you to see how people behave, and for example, how frequently they give, what they give, how much. Can you ask them to give more, and how, and what may attract them? Do test and iterate some of the new strategies that you have. Measure and evaluate. And it seems boring, basically, but it helps to be efficient. One of the things that we were measuring recently was the level of burnout among workers in non-profit sector. And what we saw is that a lot of people told that if they do not see the result of their work, it leads to the burnout state. It leads to not feeling any pleasant pleasure of working in the group. So please, if you set clear goals and then you measure them and evaluate, and you can see what was done, you can be more, it's kind of work about your mental health as well. And what data should we start gathering? That is one of the questions in the chat. And donor demographics, that is all about age, oh my God, sex, state of income, and so on. Donor feedback, it's if you're available, please ask people that support you what helps, why do they support you, what can you do better, and how you can, what the channel a preference by those donors, what is the most convenient way to give. This will help you to build a new strategy or adjust the one that you're working on. The third part is giving history, so data including donation amount, frequency, and so on. The next thing is industry benchmarks. So this is about what are other organizations that work in that field and that you can borrow something from them. It doesn't mean stealing. It doesn't mean that you need to repeat everything they do, but it's more about performing, trying, realizing how you can connect and how can you use the data that they have or the result that they achieve. But you need to work really carefully just to to take something that you would like to try, but to make it in your own personal way. Also, one of the important things is engagement metrics. It means information about how donor engage with your contact, what is the percentage of opening newsletters, what people are writing in your comments on Facebook, do they respond to your outreach efforts, do they visit your events or virtual events. It also helps you to understand everything like that. And the last but also not least is the economic factors, and I would say that this is an important thing. It covers not only your organization but the whole state, and it means that people are what is the situation in the country? Are people available to give? What is the stock market performance? What people buy? How do they behave? And these are about marketing service as well. If we realize what is the difference about data-driven approach to other, it means that we can improve our engagement. We can, knowing what is going on and what motivates people to give, we can use these tools and try to understand what is driving your people, what is making them more engaged. Also, you can target outreach more specifically. So knowing the portrait of your donor, you can work with the targeting in social media, or you can start an advertising campaign. You can achieve greater efficiency and better measurement and evaluation. It's all possible when you work with data. This is how it's done. And what I wanted to say at the key difference between data-driven fundraising and other fundraising approaches is that when we rely on data, we are better at decision making. Before not having data, we rely on our personal attitude, on what our friends say, on intuition or crystal ball, but it's not the point of doing it in the perfect way. We are trying to get as much as we can, and data will help us a lot in it. Yeah, and that's time for questions. So I will be happy to answer all of them or any of them. I see that someone is sending clapping hands and hearts. It's nice because I will be honest with you, with these technical things with Mentimeter, I was a little bit upset, but I will be happy to share some of the insight that you might want me to share, but I need your questions in that regard. So please, you have a Q&A possibility this window. Do not hesitate to tell everything that you want us to share. I think that Miloš is still there and he will be happy to join the conversation as well. As I said, they have a lot more experience on working with the actual data about the CRM systems and AI intelligence. Artificial intelligence, yeah, that's how it's pronounced, and how to make sure that ChatGPT is working for you and in the approach that you need. So please, I will motivate you to once again ask questions. Miloš, maybe you have something to add to the previous sections I covered, because I know that you have experience in that as well.
Maybe just adding another thing, everything that we shared, basically we found an inspiration in what some businesses are doing. We're not inventing something completely new or revolutionary, and that has been Catalyst approach this whole time. What works in other industries, we copy and paste that and try to implement it in the nonprofit sector. What I might suggest to everyone to do, there is this methodology that tech startups have been using for the past decade, even more actually, to develop their businesses. It's called business model canvas by Strategizer. We adopted that methodology to the nonprofit sector, and basically that's today our methodology for developing fundraising models. And you mentioned some of those models: crowdfunding, virtual events, peer-to-peer. There's much more different models that you can utilize, but even more important, they're called models with a good reason, because they are very flexible and you can innovate within those models a lot. There is this amazing organization from Serbia called Nurdor. They are actually the biggest organization that provides support to families with children battling cancer. They, a couple of years ago, I think it was just before COVID hit us, they launched this app, which is actually a pedometer. They have a huge brand. People recognize them and know them. 500,000 of people downloaded their app, used their app while they were walking, because for every kilometer you make, one company buys that kilometer and donates to Nurdor. So basically, I can't even now remember how much money they raised that way, but people who support them were downloading their app like crazy, using it, and then companies saw an amazing opportunity to connect with that brand and with those people. And I walked a couple of times, like 10 kilometers per day, just to have more kilometers, just to have companies buy those kilometers. And that's a simple thing. There is a pedometer as an app, but they saw an opportunity how to connect with their supporters and with companies, and to create this ecosystem, basically, where through the app you will get actually a notification. Once you make that 1 kilometer, you will get a notification: this company bought this kilometer and donated to Nurdor. So I know which company bought my kilometers, basically. It's gamification, basically. And that's also another concept that you should explore when developing your fundraising campaigns. But I think that there is an amazing book called Business Model Generation. It is mostly about businesses, but you can really adapt it to your own needs, especially with the data that you will collect, to understand and to build your own fundraising models that you can utilize. At one moment, crowdfunding became super sexy thing that everyone wants to be involved with. And sure, it's great, but it's not that powerful. That's what I've been trying to explain here in Serbia. Yes, we are running our own crowdfunding platform, but it's not for everyone and it's not for everything. There are dozens of different models and things that people and organizations can do. And in order for them to choose which model is the best for them strategically, they need to collect data and they need to analyze data.
Yeah, I totally agree with Miloš that I was trying to mention it a little bit, that you need to see which model works for you and which method works for you. But you will not it if you don't have data, and secondly, if you wouldn't try it. So that's the thing. You need to try different models and see what works the best. And that was the example that we had before, because we organized a lot of events and they were succeeded, but we didn't gather a lot of money. But there were like 10 events, and maybe should we spend those time during the preparation just to maybe, I don't know, get into more social responsibility business that can help us to cover all the need that we had. Or maybe we could organize one big event, just attracting people to be the part of it, because it always requires a lot of effort from your side. And it's important to know what your final goal is, because if you want to widen your audience, of course, a lot of events will help to get more people attracted to different topics, for example. But if you want to, for example, firstly, to raise money, it's a little bit different thing that you need to achieve. And that's also something that we need to keep in mind every time. Why we are doing this and what instruments do we use. Don't ever think about fundraising or peer-to-peer that we will do peer-to-peer. Why? It's not the main thing. It's about the instrument. If it fits you, if it works for you, use it. If not, no, you don't need to do everything.
I turned off my camera during your presentation because I started looking like that cat that constantly waves its head because I was constantly waving my head to support what you were saying. And absolutely, you really need to understand that these are just the tools to help you, and you can change tools, but you don't have to be afraid, and you need to test them and play around with them. Nothing bad will happen. Okay, something bad happened in our case when we got a new colleague who deleted the whole database in one day, but of course we had backups and we returned to normal pretty quickly. But that's the worst thing that can happen. That's why you have these processes and backups in order for you to secure that you won't lose the data. But these are regular things. There's really nothing scary here that will happen.
Yeah. And once again, thank you everyone for being here, for being with us. It means a lot for you listening. I see that a lot of people still are in the room listening. It's nice because Simon told me that people are more likely to leave after the first hour. And I expected that in the end, it will be just me and Miloš sitting here and waving hands. But if you have anything to say, or if it was helpful, please let us know in the chat. It's really important just to get some of the feedback, because we do not see you, but we feel your support, and we feel that maybe it was useful enough for you to use and start working on the data. As we saw during the Miloš presentation that you had some of the try-ins, but you can do more for sure.
Thank you very much, Liubov. I wanted to jump in to say thank you to you, and thank you so much, Miloš, for joining us today. And for all of you who were following us, Liubov mentioned the importance of feedback, and we will send you a link to a very short survey through the email address which you provided at registration. And we really appreciate if you could just take a minute to give us feedback on today's webinar. And Liubov at the beginning mentioned that we'll be putting together a kind of a list of links to various resources and references mentioned during today's webinar, and we can also share that through the email address. So thank you all for joining us today, and don't forget to sign up for the webinar, or the second one on fundraising, next week on the 26th of April. Thank you so much, Liubov. Thank you, Miloš. We'll see you again.
Thank you very much. It was amazing.
Yes. Good luck. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.